Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. For our visitors, this is a little recap of what is going on in town government. We have a very active town government, lots of citizen involvement. And for our residents, you already know that, and this is more of a quick update for you in case you don't already know. So at the board meeting last night, the board is on its summer schedule right now, which means 2 meetings in June, July, and August. We don't have another meeting right now until July 10th. Last night we had some announcements. There's still some road paving going on. The Milestone Road project is a state job, not a town job. So the state is hired Victor Paving to do that work, and it's mostly bus pull-offs and some intersection improvements right at the moment. And we still are working on finishing up the roads that were involved in the sewer project, and weather has been a major deterrent in getting that done, and so we're trying to get at it as best we can. And the work on for the Richmond property is going on, and there was something else, I can't remember what it is right at this exact moment, but there's a lot of road work happening, and it's not that quick with weather situations. And it has to be coordinated so that, we don't have roads that sort of depend on each other closed all at the same time. That's a big deal. So we had a little bit of announcement of what roads are coming up to be paved in the sewer project. We had a preview of 2019 4th of July preparation plans from the police chief, who talked about the now standard public safety plan for beach roads that go to certain beaches, closures, checkpoints, trash arrangements, things like that. And then the Director of Culture and Tourism gave a little preview of what activities are actually happening on the 4th. The fireworks, by the way, are not on the 4th, they are on the 5th, with a rain date, weather date on the 6th. We also talked about going back to the fireworks on the 4th in 2020. We're going to see how it goes this year and determine that at a later time. Town offices are closed on Thursday, July 4th. Next board meeting, I already said, is July 10th. We have an island-wide solid waste management summit scheduled. I know you're going to be there, Gino, on Thursday, July 11th from 6 to 8 at the Public Safety Building Community Room. And this is going to be a presentation with a variety of town officials and our solid waste consultant. And then a big open Q&A for the public. Our waste management contract, the landfill operator's contract, expires in 2025. And we have been talking for a couple of years now about what our options are for when that contract expires. Do we want to renew it? Do we want to modify it? Do we want to have the town operate the landfill itself? Do we want to perhaps operate parts of it with private contractors? Do we want to do something completely different with our trash? So all of that is wide open. All of that is under review at the moment. But we thought this would be a good time to start letting people know the types of things that we are. I should always turn my phone over during my show because
very distracting.
Very distracting. Anyway, public is invited to this. There's some mailers and information that's going out. But again, Thursday, July 11th, Solid Waste Summit. And then the police chief gave an update on the April 2018 African Meeting House vandalism. In a nutshell, the investigation has not led to any arrests or anything like that. There are a lot of rumors around about who did this, as of yet unsubstantiated, although names have been put out on Facebook. And those names have been followed up on with no evidence provided, no determination. So the police department is turning the investigation over to the state police and the district attorney's office, and we will await the outcome.
Is there really anything else they can do?
I don't know, but I think that the chief was feeling as though there's at least some amount of what would you call it, inferences surfacing or have surfaced on Facebook that there's some sort of cover-up.
Like there's a conspiracy.
There's some kind of conspiracy because
it could be somebody associated with the police force.
There was
some
talk that some police officers, perhaps child was involved, so they don't want to give any appearance of impropriety
Right.
or conflict or anything like that. So they're turning it over to an independent third party who will probably do everything all over again, or will
Yeah.
review what they've already done, which is pretty extensive, and determine what else should be done.
Yeah, what are with all the signs all around? What, if you know, what is
I've
that?
certainly seen the signs, and I think that, even
Is
though
that-
it's a year and a half later,
Yeah,
people are probably understandably concerned and upset that the
No one
culprit
got
or
caught.
culprits have not been found. But again, without evidence and documentation and information that could lead to someone, again, none of which has really come forward. There's no camera
right.
that people
Okay.
have, there's
Well, I guess they'll just
Sometimes
keep looking at it
things
until
go-
they
yeah.
decide that they've looked at it enough or they find somebody.
Exactly. So that is happening. We had that update. And then there was a little bit of other public comment, which we'd be here all day if I went into that. Committee appointments. This was a committee appointment night, so the board did its annual board, committee, and commission appointments. Those terms start on July 1, and between now and then, people will get sworn in. We schedule annual training for open meeting law, conflict of interest, public records for people who are on these committees that need to know those things. So that will probably happen sometime in July or August.
And
we have a
there's
couple
quite a
new-
few that are open.
There
Still,
were
right?
there were some that were still open. Council of Human Services jumps to mind as one that had a number of vacancies. So if people are interested in that, please consider applying. A lot of information on the website about that. Let's see here. Okay, we by the way have two new committees. The Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee and the Cannabis Advisory Committee. And
Right.
people were appointed to both of those. Those will meet at some point. Town admin will have to get them going, just set an initial meeting so that there's somebody organizing it, and then they will begin meeting on their own. All right, we also had a report from the Senior Center Relocation Expansion Feasibility Study Committee, also known as the Senior Center Work Group, and they've been looking at potential sites for a new senior center. They've come up with a couple of sites, one of which they're very interested in, which is a private property off of Crooked Lane.
I was trying to figure out what, they had Westchester there, but
Well-
is it right next to the MSPCA?
It's just down the road from the animal
Is there
hospital.
an existing
Yes.
building?
Yes.
Is it the one on the hill on the left?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't know if it's a hill,
That used to
but-
be like housing for the MSPCA. Is that the one?
No,
Just past on the left? Or is it past the curve? Do you know?
it's just at the end of the road on the left.
At the end of,
Past the animal hospital on,
Going
which
towards
that's
Cliff Road?
no, I'm sorry, no. When you turn into the animal hospital driveway,
Yeah.
that is technically Westchester Street.
oh, it is.
End of that, on the left.
That's what confused me.
Down at the end of that.
Got it.
So that property is for sale. And there already is some abutting land bank property there, so there would be some potential land bank involvement with any kind of a purchase, possibly, not worked out yet. And anyway, so the idea here was that this property be looked at as from a number of different points of view. What would it take to turn the buildings into a senior center? There are a lot of ADA, Americans with Disability Act compliance issues. There are parking lot issues. There are, space and programming issues, things of that nature. We need to look at what the potential operating expenses would be.
You went through very thoroughly.
I went through a
thought,
fairly
to-
comprehensive list of what needs to be done, in
Right.
addition to looking at other properties so that we can compare if we did something else like use town land and build a new building versus this, what would the costs and benefits be?
Well, like the police station, you put a fire station, you had extra room to put the fire station when we needed it. Would this have the opportunity to build onto? Or would
Don't
this
think
be-
so, because it's sort of
Because
restricted.
people are talking about a community center as well.
I know. This potentially could have some functionality for community
Yeah.
events and activities.
Yeah.
But again, that's something that would be looked at in this feasibility study that we were talking about as a result of their report. So the next steps are going to be to get this feasibility study scope together, issue an RFP to hire somebody to do this, typically an architectural firm, and go from there. So
And they
that's
seem
how it
very
ended up.
excited about it, the people there.
They are
So
very,
we
very
would,
excited
the
about it.
town would sell what we have? and put the money
Well,
toward?
that was not really brought up, but that is an option to sell the land
Well, what
that,
else would we do?
well, we might keep it for parking.
Oh. Knock it down and put parking?
Knock it down and put parking there, so.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, there's a concern that near the coastline,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be building, as a general rule, buildings there. And if you read coastal resiliency planning documents and studies and literature and things like that, I think we're moving towards not building things in very close proximity to the waterfront. Makes a lot of sense.
It does.
And we need parking downtown.
Yeah,
That's
right.
not right downtown, but it's close enough.
Now, I noticed our boys are out here with the valet.
The valet
right?
is
How
out.
long is that going to last for? Just curious about that.
Well, you mean
How
what do you
long
mean?
are they gonna
in the
valet?
in the season?
Yeah,
Till September 15th.
okay.
So they are out
They
here in
have
front of the
this
town
now,
building.
They have this, yes.
Yep, and at the town pier lot.
Okay.
So we're trying it out, see how it works.
It's a little early, though. I was thinking, I thought
Well,
they were night guys.
June 15th to September 15th, all day, every day.
Okay,
And I think that they stop at midnight.
okay.
So anyway, that was the senior center report. Stay tuned on that. Lots more to happen. I'm skipping over some of the stuff because it's not
Which is,
very exciting.
okay.
Okay, one very interesting thing here. Our housing specialist came in with a request to file a letter with the Department of Housing and Community Development, that is the state agency, requesting certification of compliance of the town's housing production plan. Translation: with the addition of units at Richmond and elsewhere, affordable housing units that meet the state's criteria for subsidized housing, we qualify right now for what's called safe harbor for 2 years, which insulates us from 40B developments for a 2-year period of time. Has to be approved, but this is the result of a very significant amount of effort, and thank you to all the people that were involved. Tucker Holland, our housing specialist, Ken Bogren, our real estate specialist, the select board members have been very supportive of this, the Affordable Housing Trust, Andrew Vorse, our director of planning, all of these people have been instrumental in this. I'm sure I'm missing people, I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but this is a huge first step. Still working on safe
2
harbor
years of
permanently,
what?
but
What does that mean?
it means that we do not need to accept any 40B applications for a period of 2 years,
Okay.
excluding the one that is pending right now because that happened before this.
The Surfside Crossing
Surfside
one?
Crossing.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and on that one, I'm not really the Surfside Crossing expert, but the Zoning Board of Appeals did approve a decision on that. And I don't know if it's actually been filed yet, but it will be very shortly if it hasn't already. And then we will await whether or not there will be an appeal out
They
of that.
approved only so many buildings, right?
A lot of conditions, including a
conditions.
reduction in the amount of housing units in the
What
original
what
application.
what percentage did they cut? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm not
It
sure.
seemed like a lot.
Yeah, I'm just not, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but
Right,
it's
okay.
significant. Okay, we had a number of real estate items. We had some telephone petitions. The sewer director and a consultant that we've engaged, one of our engineers, gave an overview of a somewhat comprehensive rewrite of our sewer regulations. The sewer regulations have not been properly updated in many, many years, decades we're talking about. And over the years, procedures have started to be implemented that aren't technically necessarily in the regulations. There are procedures that are not happening that are in the regulations because they just don't happen anymore. Now that we have a sewer department, formerly the Public Works Department was handling sewers. None of that has been changed in terms of the names need to be changed. Some of the fees need to be updated. So they went through all of the main changes. And the board had some questions about it, some discussion. So the next steps are going to be, we will have an actual public hearing to consider adoption of the regulations in September. And between now and then, the sewer director will be doing some public outreach with people, probably hold a session with the Builders Association, probably a public information session on some evening over the summer for people to ask any questions about it.
Okay.
I gave the board the monthly town management activity report. There was a little bit of discussion on that. Some of the board members had some reports. Christy Ferrantella attended a meeting at the State House on Monday. What's Tuesday? I guess it was Tuesday, with some other town officials in support of the community housing transfer fee that we've approved at town meeting several times. This was the fourth hearing about it at the State House. And I think the group felt like to date, this was probably the most productive hearing yet. So there's light on the horizon. It is a 0.5% transfer fee on real estate transactions. Real estate, it's either buying or selling. I'm sorry, I can't exactly remember which one it is. It's too much for me to have to remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, it would be this 0.5% tax, and it would go to community housing initiatives.
I see.
Been working on it for quite a while now.
Are we the only ones doing that, or is that something other towns are
This
doing?
is, I think since ours has been filed, I think there are a couple of other cities or towns that have submitted similar legislation. So it's sort of catching on, even though none of it has been approved yet by the legislature. So this was a hearing before the legislature to the committee that is hearing this particular bill to try to get their support for it. Let's see, there's a little bit of other public comment. So again, the board does not have a meeting next week or the week after. The next meeting is July 10th. So I wanted to mention this very interesting field trip that I took this morning with the fire chief. He asked me a week or two ago, do you want to come out and look, just sort of observe this trench rescue training that we're doing? And I thought, trench rescue training, how boring. I am so glad I went out there. It was out by the airport, put on by the Mass Fire Services. I probably didn't say that exact name of the agency correctly, but we've been on, come to find out, I learned a lot out there. We've been on a waiting list for trench rescue training for 2 years, I believe. It's the Mass Fire Services puts on training, all varieties of training throughout the state periodically. I think the director who was there said they do something like 31 trainings per year, but each training can be several days, and people from different fire departments you have to sign up in advance, and some people are on this list to go for over a year. So our training had some Nantucket firefighters, but also firefighters from other places. I think they said somebody from Tewksbury was there, maybe Braintree. Can't remember every place, but there were a number of firefighters there. They bring a lot of equipment in, they dig trenches, and there's a lot to this.
What's the purpose?
The purpose is trench rescue training. So you dig a trench, you're supposed to shore the trench up if it's a certain depth so that it doesn't cave in on you.
Well, why do you need to dig a trench?
Oh, if you're building a building. Trench probably isn't the right word. It's called a trench. It's a big hole.
Okay, so you did...
Like a foundation hole.
It's okay for what? If there's a fire?
No, if you're digging okay. Say you're building a house. You have to typically dig a foundation hole. It's typically 6 feet deep or more.
Right.
And, or you might be digging something a little smaller than a foundation hole, but you have to get in it and install, pipes and machinery and stuff for your building.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the walls of the trench cave in on someone and they suffocate and die.
But what's the fire department doing this for? I don't understand what
Firefighters are trained in trench rescue work so that if somebody is in a trench and the walls collapse in on them, they can rescue them out.
All right, okay, got it. That's why I was waiting for you to explain that part.
Okay, I sounded
that's all right.
sort of self-explanatory. Trench rescue.
Well, you were there, but I just didn't understand why they would. So they rescue people out of. Is this a problem? People are getting buried all the time like this?
All the time.
Huh.
There are now, there's OSHA rules in place, but I guess they are not always 100% followed. Anyway, it is very technical, and they have all kinds of equipment for it. Not all of fire departments have this equipment because while we say it happens all the time, it doesn't happen every day in every town, obviously. It might happen from time to time in every town, but not all the time. So it doesn't really justify having all the equipment, because also the state has these, I forget what they're called, these rescue teams, regional rescue teams that are stationed around the state that can very quickly mobilize and respond to something like this. But obviously here, that's not going to be a very quick response. So we're probably on our own unless it's a recovery effort. So we might be thinking about maybe, don't get excited, Chief Murphy, maybe buying our own equipment at some point so that we have it. In the event that, so that we're prepared.
Okay.
In any event, I wish I had known how incredible this was going to be, because I could have had you there, Gina,
Yeah,
and you
I
could
would
have
like
really seen what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But the director, he was taking me through the whole thing and explaining everything, very, very good explainer. And he said that the Nantucket team and these other firefighters that come were really professional, very interested and engaged in the training, and he was really pleased by that. And anyway, it was really, really fascinating. So I'm very glad I went out there. There's a lot to this trench, and that's just one thing, that firefighters do. One thing.
I'll be going over tomorrow, and people will get a look-see at the new
station.
Fire station.
Yep.
Yes, I'll be filming tomorrow, and we'll have something soon.
We're unfortunately not open yet with the new fire station.
No.
There's a punch
That's right.
list,
Yep.
pretty lengthy punch list,
Yep.
and there have been some unexpected delays, but everybody's working on it, and we're hoping to get in there and get an open house going very shortly.
Sure.
So tomorrow morning, one of the select board members, Rita Higgins, and I are attending the annual Nantucket Civic League President's Breakfast
Ooh.
at Sherburne Commons. Yeah, it's
That's going to be a big
deal.
spread.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Big breakfast.
I don't know if it's actually that big of a breakfast. It's pretty good though. I've been there. I've
sure.
been before. So now is when summer groups like to meet, and so I'm lined up for that. As Advisory Committee of Non-Voting Taxpayers. I've been invited to the Brant Point Association annual meeting this year. I've never been to that meeting.
Well, what are they expecting you to do?
I don't know. But the person who called reassured me that it would be friendly.
Okay.
No complaining.
Okay. They just want to meet and greet kind of
Well, they
thing.
like to hear what's going on in town, and generally what the town's working on, specifically what's going on, maybe if we have any activities, projects, things going on in their particular area.
neighborhood, yeah, right.
Which I can understand that.
They better be concerned.
Well, they're kind of close to the water.
Yeah, we just got over talking about
I
the
know.
salt marsh.
I know. Also, plastics. I've got a little internal work group working on the plastics ban that goes into
Good.
effect in 2020.
Good.
And we are getting at this. This is not going to be easy. I think our initial efforts are going to be education and helping as best we can the affected businesses finding replacement products that we are not, to replace the products that we aren't going to be able to use anymore.
Okay.
So,
Good.
and that
I'm part of it.
I've-
I'm ready to help educate.
you're all
You
set.
bet.
So just so if people don't remember, we have a plastics ban that was approved at the at one of our 2018 October special town meetings. It's been approved by the Attorney General's office, and it bans things like, I'm going from my head here, so that's iffy. 6-pack plastic yolks that hold things like 6-packs together.
Well,
Takeout containers
Yeah.
cannot be plastic, must be compostable. So whether or not they're compostable is something that we're
those
very
plastic
thoroughly
stirrers at
investigating.
Cumbies.
Forget about the
Forget
plastic
about
stirrers,
those.
no
Use
plastic
wood.
straws, plastic water bottles, 1 liter or less plastic water
Get
bottles.
rid of them.
Banned.
Ban them. I like what our culture and tourism lady.
The water
has done.
bottles?
The water bottles.
The water
What a
bottle.
Great idea.
There's one right there. Can you grab it?
Yep.
We're
This is
giving
good.
out these water bottles. They look like this.
She's giving thousands of them out.
Well, 750.
Oh, okay.
And they're going to be given out at July 4th, and they've got a URL on here. Where is it? Right here that says
Yeah.
where all our water stations are. That's another thing.
That's a great idea.
There's a lot to the plastic ban that we're looking at that isn't exactly about banning plastic, but it's more about providing people alternatives. And one of the things we're really trying to figure out is where can we have water stations all over the place so that people
Excellent.
do not need to buy
We
plastic
took
water
them out
bottles.
years ago, remember? mean,
I know.
We had drinking
Well, we're trying
fountains
to
everywhere.
find ways to put them back and make them,
Good.
you know, innovative, but fitting in and in places where, you know, in other resort places they have them they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And you know, in the middle of like the town square, there's a gigantic water station there. So we've got a lot of ideas that we're mulling over, and we're meeting. We're probably going to be meeting every couple of weeks. This little group that I have together, and we're working on some public outreach, informational sessions over the summer, and then probably into the fall, and some sort of like focus group meetings with some of the businesses. But anyway, so if you're around on July 4th downtown, grab yourself a water bottle, or just get a water bottle and start using it. People
Yeah.
are using water bottles now.
Sure.
Non-plastic.
You got it.
All right, what else, Gina? What else you got?
Oh, we need some warm weather, Libby. What can we do on that front?
Saturday.
Can we do, huh?
Saturday.
Saturday it's going to get
It's going to be amazing.
hot? Like 80 something?
Maybe 70.
I don't want that.
I know, me either.
We
I want
gotta be in
hot.
the like
I know.
high 80s.
High 80s would be
I want
awesome.
some summer.
Me too. I want some sun.
This is crazy.
I know. It's going to rain tomorrow.
All right.
In family news, the youngest Ranny is coming home for the weekend, Will.
Oh,
I'm
good.
very excited. We haven't seen Will in quite a while.
Okay.
So
That's going to be fun.
can't wait to see you, little bro.